Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, or if maybe you're not, but we're gonna go through this again. My name is Bree. I like to do book content, so book reviews, book hauls, everything book related. So, if you can't tell from the title of this video, but I'm gonna take you through the 25 books I want to read in 2025. There's a lot of them. I think this year my goal so far has been to get through about 40 books. Last year I had a really big goal of trying to hit 75. Didn't even did not even come close to that, like absolutely at all. So, we're going to try that again. Well, not that again, but my goal this year is now 40. So my goal last year was like, oh, 24, like all the books I list out, I'm going to get through and it's going to help me get like at least a third of the way off my list. Didn't even come close. I didn't even really read any of the books I had. If you want me to, I can kind of go in a deep dive on this, but I went through my physical TBR, and by that I mean all the books that I have physically that I have not read. Last year, one of my goals was to get through like 20% of that, which totaled, I think there was like 70 books, which totaled to like 14 books off of my physical TBR, which I believe I did do that. But I did buy more books, so it really defeated the purpose of it. So this year, all the 25 books, the only books that are on here that are new are the only books I'm allowing myself to buy. What that means is if there's any new releases on here that you see or like anticipated releases for 2025, those are going to be the only ones I buy. Everything else I have already. So we're going to start and we're going to go over all of those. Also, don't mind my messy bookshelf. Please bear with me because I'm not feeling well and my life's a mess. Also, this is always a mess, so that's not an excuse, but it is what it is. So, first, we're going to go over Onyx Storm. That book is the third book in the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. If you've already read the other two books, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, you already know why I need to have this book. I know there's a lot of like controversy over like the book itself, Iron Flame, but I need to know what happens. I'm just the person that I'm invested now. This is gonna be the third book. I finished two books that were really long and I'm invested. So I don't care if the writing's bad. I don't care about anything. I need to know what happens and I just need to know. I also am just invested in Violet and Zayden, and now all I keep getting are like theory videos of this couple and like just the different things, and I need to know. I like freaking need to know. So just that's my number one. That one comes out this month in January. So I already have like that all put together. Like I need that book. Like I need that book. I already pre-ordered, not my cat sliding into the little space right here. Anyways, I already pre-ordered the book on my Kindle. I think I'm gonna get a physical copy too. I know that Barnes and Noble is just doing like midnight releases, so there's that as well. The second book on my 25 books of 2025, not both of the cats being in there. What the heck? The second book on my 25 books of 2025 is going to be the second book in the Throne of Glass series. I don't know what the name is. I know I have it like somewhere. I actually picked it up already, but I don't know where I put it. So, yeah. But that book is the second book on my list, mainly because my husband bought me the whole series last year, and I know that it's kind of like not slow to start, but I know that it's a big series, so everything you get in the first two books is going to come in later and also has a big part to play throughout the rest of the series. And even though I don't feel like I'm fully invested now, I feel like I will eventually be, which is why I want to continue reading the series. I read Throne of Glass last year and I wasn't really like, it was good, but I wasn't really too like excited or whatever about it. But that's also how I felt about A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I ended up really liking the rest of the series. So I'm just going to keep going and see what happens with that. That's pretty much my reason. I really, really just want to get it off my list. I want to get the entire series off my TBR because it's a big series. But for sure, if I know, I for sure want to get through that one. I don't want to commit to everything else. I just want to get through that second book. The third book on my 25 books of 2025 is, or to read in 2025, is Pride and Prejudice. I had this on my reading goals last year as like a book to get through, and I didn't do it. And I really want to do it this year, mainly because the second half of last year I read like two or three classics, and I enjoyed them so much. And that's my struggle with reading sometimes, is that I just get nervous that I'm not gonna like it. But so far, every time I picked up a classic, I just end up enjoying it so much. And I feel like it is easy for me to put myself into that time frame when it was maybe being written or like it's written about. So I feel like if I were to get through Pride and Prejudice, I could do that again. Pride and Prejudice is like one of my favorite movies, the Keira Knightley one. I love it so, so, so much. Like it's just, I love it. I think I watch it at least once or twice a year. I can't get over it. And I just really want, I know that movies sometimes just don't do books justice, and I really want to figure out what that is with Pride and Prejudice. So that's another one on my list. I've also had this book for maybe about 3 years now. So she's definitely coming off that TBR this year because I can't do that again. I can't do that again. The fourth book that I have is Reckless by Elsie Silver. I think it's right here. Yeah, it's this one right here. Reckless by Elsie Silver. I read Heartless and Flawless. Heartless and Flawless, which are the first two books. And I just realized right now I have to get through Powerless before I get through Reckless. That's a double whammy right there. But anyways, I want to get through Reckless. Mainly, I think the reason I put Reckless on here was because I was gifted Flawless and Reckless for Christmas the year like 2023, and I never really got through the series until the summer. Like I read Flawless in the summer, and then a couple weeks ago I read Heartless, and I really liked them. And I just kind of want to know more. Also, I feel like this one intrigues me more than Powerless, mainly because it's about Summer, who's our main character in Flawless. It's about her sister and her fiance husband's like friend. So I'm excited for that one. That's like I said, it's just been on my TBR for so long that I want to get it off. But it's a double whammy for that one because I have to get Powerless off first. I know you don't have to really read these in order. I need to read them in order for my sake because I don't need any spoilers. I don't need nothing. It's going to just make me want to go back and read the other one anyways. So let me just read it in order. The fifth book on the 25 books I want to get through for 2025 is Game of Thrones, which is right here. I got the cool like new covers that they came out with in October. I like begged for these covers, and my sister ordered them and they were not the covers. So then we went and exchanged them for the covers that I wanted. I'll put a picture of it up here because I'm not grabbing any of these books. Like I don't feel good, so I'm just gonna put the pictures up here. But I love the Game of Thrones series. Like me and my husband sat down and watched it one year, and like now it's just consumed us. Like I think it's something that I think about often, and now that I've like watched the series, I can't like remember a time where I didn't like it. And I think that what kind of started my journey into like fantasy because I watched that, and then like maybe like a year late, like a couple months later is when I got into like Fourth Wing, and then it just like changed my life, and now I love fantasy books. So I just kind of want to know more. My friends have told me that the books have a lot more context and a lot more just content, I mean, than the shows do because they're trying to cram everything all into one. So I just really want to know more. We also watched House of the Dragon this year, like the second season, or this past year, and I just there's so much there, and I love that. I love when that like a fictional world is so full, and there's so many things you can kind of like go into and like learn more about. It literally feels like history, and history is one of my favorite genres. Also, Game of Thrones, if you didn't know, can be related to the War of the Roses. So just a little tidbit there. When I found that out, I was like, this is why I liked it. Anyways, the next book I have. You're gonna steal the show or what? Huh, Puff? You're gonna steal the show? Anyways, the next book I have is The Deep End or Wet by Ali Hazelwood. I am a huge Ali Hazelwood fan. Like, come on. Absolutely love her. I went to go see her in Austin because she did a book signing for the Texas Book Festival or whatever. And I remember I was like, I need to go see her. I need to meet her. So I met her and I was like, I love you so much. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she laughed because I was like, I just love your books. But anyways, there's that. So I read almost all of her books. I haven't read Not in Love, which is another one on the list. But I just really want to, like, I feel like I am never really disappointed with her books. So she's like an auto-buy author for me. So I really want to get through that one. It just looks interesting and fun. It's two swimmers that are like competitive. I think they're both trying to get into like the Olympics. And also, I love the Olympics. Like, I get obsessed with it. So I'm excited to kind of get that little back in my life. Because, yeah, I love it so much. Next, I have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, I think is what it's called. Daphne du Maurier? I can't say her name. But that one is based off this like woman who marries this man and his ex-wife's ghost is like haunting her, and that's an interesting concept to me. Apparently it's also a classic, so that was another thing. And then third, Taylor Swift based the song Tolerate It off of like the storyline in this book. And so for me I was like, okay, it fits all of my worlds. I just want to know more. So yeah, I really liked, I really thought that was interesting, and that's another one I want to get off my list. I bought it last year because I really wanted to get into it because I started getting into more classics, but I just never got the time to read it. So that one's on it for this year. Another book I have on here is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I really don't know much about this book. I maybe got through the first two chapters and I was intrigued. I just kind of put it to the side because there was just a lot going on at the time. But I saw Haley Pham did a video where she read this book and it's based in like Paris or like France and like the little rural towns around Paris. So I thought that was interesting. And then I've seen other people read the book. I've just had people in my life also read the book and are like, no, you're absolutely gonna love it. And those are people I trust. Those are people that like are so close to me that whenever they recommend me a book and I do try it, they're not wrong. They know exactly what I like. So that's another one that's on my list. I bought it this past year and I just never got around to it, so I want to get that one off. After that, this is another new release. I think so far I only have this is the third new release. This book, when I found out it was being announced, it was game over for me. Game over for me. I knew it was like, oh, I'm only gonna buy one book this year. No. This one was like, I don't even care. Like, I don't even need to read the like summary or whatever. I am gonna buy this book. And it's Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I think I've convinced a majority of my family to read her books. I always say her she's in fiction, so I always say her books are like made to be TV shows and movies. And so far, two of them have been made. One's been made into a TV show, the other one's been made into a movie. And it's just good storytelling. And so with Atmosphere, this one is based off a woman who sees an ad for astronauts. Um, for astronauts around like the 50s, like 60s or whatever, and it's her and this group of women who go to Houston to like train to be astronauts. And it just sounded interesting. Also, like, it's Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like, I need it. So that's like the basis of it, but I know that there's just gonna be so much more, and I love her book, so I just needed to get it. I need to read it. um so that's, I'm like really excited for that one, like actually really really excited. um the next book, this is one that I've heard really good things about, and I just had it on my TBR for so long, and it's When in Rome by, I think, Sarah Adams, but it's When in Rome. And that one, what's interesting about that one, I believe it's about this person who gets stuck like in this small town, and they end up meeting like uh they end up meeting somebody who owns like a bakery, I believe, and they're just kind of stuck there, and they like form this relationship. That one has two books. It has that one and Practice Makes Perfect, which is the second book, or not the second book, but like the I don't even know. It's a part of the same universe. And I don't know, I've just had it on my TBR for so long that I really want to read it and I want to get it off. I just need it gone. I need it off. Yeah, it's just been on my TBR for too long. I think I've had it on there for 2 years, and I'm just like, okay, let's get this one off there. It's not a book you've heard anything crazy about, anything bad about. Just go ahead and do it. And it's also pretty small, so that's why I put it on there. The next book is King of Wrath by Anna Huang. I've had this book since it came out and I haven't read it. And I love the Twisted series. Absolutely loved it. I just never got around to reading the Kings of Sin series. So I just want to get through that first book, see how I like it, and then go further. And like I said, I've had that one since it came out. So I've had it for about like a year and a half, 2 years maybe. So that one's another one that I want off my TBR. And I just like, I've been also just seeing a lot of good things about Anna Huang on social media. And I just think I maybe forgot her writing this, like, and I just want to get back into it. And that's the start of a series, so why not? Next, I have Dracula by Bram Stoker. I watched the movie for Dracula maybe about a year ago, the one with Gary Oldman, and I loved it. Like, loved it. Loved it, loved it. It was so good. I just like that it's not the typical, I mean, I've grown up like reading vampire stuff and like seeing vampire stuff. I used to watch, obviously, Twilight, watched Van Helsing. I've watched a bunch of different things about vampires, but just seeing it in this way was different, and I like that. And then I just liked the movie, and then I met somebody, one of the workers at Barnes and Nobles. We were like just talking, and she was telling me how she rereads Dracula every single year, and I thought it was this like gory like book, but then when she starts explaining to me that it's actually a love story and it's all written in like letters, like, or correspondence from Dracula to Dracula, whatever, I just was like, actually that's an interesting concept. It kind of reminded me of Daisy Jones and the Six, how it's like all interviews. And I was like, that I just like those type of concepts in books. And it's also a classic. Like I said, I got into classics last year too. So, and I want to keep going on that train. So that's another one I want to get off my list. I think that's like the 12th book. Yeah, that's the 12th book. The next book is Dare You to Hate Me. And this book is a sports romance, and it has some trigger warnings. And I remember when I first grabbed it, the cover looked cute, it was cool, whatever, and I thought it was interesting because I wanted to get more into sports romances. And I've come to find that I love them. I love them so much. Also, I was like, it's a sports romance. Like, how cute can it really get and stuff? But then after reading Binding and Keeping, like the Boys of Tommen series, and those are all sports romances with men who are just like so sensitive. I was like, oh yeah, I think we're gonna continue this. So I have Dare You to Hate Me on there. I have both of the books I think from that series, and I want to get through those. But for sure, just the first one. I've had that one on my TBR for about a year too, so it's just time to get it off. And I feel like I've just been stuck in this like physical TBR that's like about a year old, and I want to read new books, but I can't commit to buying new books until I finish my old books that I have. So I really want to get those off this year. Next, I have Me Before You by Jojo Myers. Myers? I love this movie. Like, the movie is so great. Like, so great. Makes me cry, whatever. I bought it about a year ago as well. I bought it about a year ago, and I told myself I was gonna read it, and then I never did. And I know that I want to read, like, I read a bunch of sad books already, but I know I want to read sad books, and that's one of them that I know for sure that'll make me sad. And there's stuff that's like maybe in the book that's not in the movie that I also want to see too. So that's another one. Next, I have Yellowface. This one, I've just heard really great things about it. It's about this woman who releases a book that is plagiarized because she took it from the original author who died. And she just so happened to be there when the author died, and she took the manuscript and made it her own. And it's all about that. And I've heard it has a lot of like societal factors that come into play. And so that's just something I'm curious about. A lot of the books I read aren't really don't really play too much into that. And a lot of them play into like romance or the complexities of relationships with people in your life, but not necessarily like societal, like race factors that I think are kind of interesting. So I'm intrigued to see what that one's about. I've just heard a lot of people have told me like, no, like it's good, like I think you'll like it. So that's another one. I mentioned this earlier, but I have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood on here. I remember buying it and I was so excited to read it, but then I just was in a mood where I just didn't want anything deep or hard or sad. So I just needed light and fluffy. And this is one of this is like the first of Ali Hazelwood's books that is not as light and fluffy, and she tells you that from the beginning. So that's why I was like, ooh, I'm a little scared. But I don't think I'm as scared anymore, so I really want to get that one off this year. I just also that's the only Ali Hazelwood book that I have not just like finished so quick. So that's one. Next I have The Only Purple House in Town. This is just another book I've had on my TBR for so long. It's essentially this woman who owns an inn, and all these different like mythical creature people go and like stay at the inn, and it just looks like light and funny and like good for the fall time. And I had it on my fall TBR this past year, but I don't really want to get too much into seasonal reads anymore because I feel like I get excited by them, but then I end up not finishing them or end up not actually doing it because I'm not in the mood, and I'm such a big mood reader. So I just want to get that off and like feel okay with going into the next couple books. So there's that one. Next is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I read Beach Read over the summer this past year, and I loved it. I've heard nothing but great things about Emily Henry's like books and everything. So I bought Happy Place and I just never read it. So I want to read that one this year. I know that it's gonna be a roller coaster ride, but I'm excited. So that's one of the ones I want on there. I just feel like I just never hear bad things about her books. So that's why I want to do that one. After that, I have Divine Rivals. That one I've just had on my TBR forever, so I want to get that one off. I hear it's a good romance, like fantasy, romantasy book, and I know that there's like mixed reviews on the second book, but I just really want to find out for myself. And I've had it for way too long. I at least need to give it a shot, you know? Then I have Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. I love Lauren Asher. I read the Dreamland Billionaire series, and I was hooked. I read the first book of the Dirty Air series, which I want to kind of read those, but I haven't committed to it yet. But I really liked that one too, and I read the first book of the Lakefront Billionaire series, and I know that Love Unwritten follows Julian from the first book, his cousin Ralph, or Rafa, and I'm excited. I feel like there's just like, I just like the single dad, like broody outside, and then like in the books you always get to find out more about like how they are inside, and I just like that. So I'm excited. And also, I believe he has a son, and his son is kind of funny. So I'm excited to see more of them. Next, I have The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is another book I've had on my TBR for too long. I One of the things that really is making me want to read this book is because a lot of people, whenever they talk about it, they talk about magical realism. The magical realism. And that's something that I didn't realize I liked until I watched Jane the Virgin. And if you've ever seen Jane the Virgin, there's like moments where things are happening and maybe her feelings, but it's a visual representation of her feelings, and I like that. And that's part of magical realism. So I'm excited to see what that looks like here. I know that there's a lot of books by Latin authors that they use magical realism, but I just kind of want to see what that looks like from like that perspective. And then I just seen good things about her other books too, so that one's on my list. This next book, it's on my book for 2025, on my list for 2025, but I just finished it. Granted, I finished it the start of 2025, so I guess it counts. But it's Taming Seven by Chloe Walsh. If you saw my last video, you know. You already know. It wrecked me. But ultimately, I added it on here because it was the last book in the series and I wanted to finish the series. So that one is on my list. I did get through it, so we can scratch that one off. Then I put Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I can't say her name. But that one is a classic too. Like I said, I've just been getting more into classics. I've seen the 2019 movie, and I've also seen the one, I forget what year it is, but the one with Winona Ryder. That one is my mom's favorite. I like the 2019 one, and my mom has also read Little Women, and when I told her that I'd seen the movie but never read the book, she was like hurt, like super hurt that I guess I hadn't read it. And she's like, "No, I love that book. Like, you need to read it. You need to read it." So that's on my list. I've also been getting like clips from friends where Joey and Rachel like trade books, and Joey is like freaking out because Rachel spoils something in the book for him. So I just thought that was funny, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna add it to my list. So I added that one to my list. Then I have Dune Messiah. I read Dune last year and I loved it. Like, it was good. And I know that it's not for everybody. Like, sci-fi is a little hard to get through, and more specifically those like the Dune series on its own is just very, like, it's just a lot. But I want to know more. I I think they might be making like another movie for it, and I want to read what happens before the movie comes out. And also, there's just like really cool covers from Barnes and Nobles that made it even more intriguing. And this one, like I said, it's the second book in the Dune series. It's like years later from when Dune ends. So I'm just excited to see what that world and that universe looks like years down the road, because there's just a lot there too. Like, if you've ever read it or if you've seen the movie, like, there is a lot of political things going on. There's a lot of, it honestly kind of is like a sci-fi version of Game of Thrones, but also if you've ever seen Star Wars, like some of the bits and pieces from there also are like in Star Wars too, and I really like Star Wars, so it's just like all the stuff I like kind of mixed into one is what kind of formed Dune, and I want to know more. And then lastly, my last book on here is Emma by Jane Austen. A couple years ago I watched the Anya Taylor Joy version, the one that came out more recently, and Anya Taylor Joy plays Emma, and it's just so freaking cute. Like, it's so cute. I like how she's like a little matchmaker, and then ultimately she ends up finding a match for herself. I just thought that was adorable, and yeah, like I said, I want to get through more classics, so that's another one I've had on my list. Full transparency, I have all the Jane Austen books on my physical TBR, but I only want to get through Pride and Prejudice and Emma because those are the ones that I've seen the movie and I already know I like the story. I feel like I will like the other ones too. I just want to get through those two first. But that's pretty much it. Those are all the books, or not all the books. Those are the top 25 books that I want to get through in 2025. It's a long list. I'm a little nervous. We'll see if I get through all of them. I also wanted to use this list as kind of like a guide for myself. I found that last year I had like a list of books I wanted to get through for the year, but it was like 5 or 6 books, and I wasn't really like, I kept to most of it, but I think some of them I was still like intimidated by, and I feel like with this list, it's a list of books that I'm not intimidated by. It's ones that I maybe have some background knowledge on, or they're just intriguing enough to me that I'm like, okay, let me try that one. Let me try this one. Let me try that one. And they're all connected to something else I've already read before for the most part. So I think that's also what makes it easier. Like, there's a certain level of like, I guess, trust I have that I won't be disappointed by reading these books. Because I think last year some of the books I had were just like, I really hadn't seen people read them. I really hadn't seen people review them. And then it ended up making me like apprehensive to even want to try it. And with these ones, I think I have a well enough knowledge of them to get into them. But I'm excited to see what y'all want to read for this upcoming year. Let me know if you have read any of these books or if you plan to read them too. Like I said, some of them are just, a little bit out there. Some of them are ones I've already like gotten through most of the series, so I'm not too nervous about. But yeah, just let me know and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.